presentation. So today, we'll not only be talking about composting, but we'll be also speaking about vermicomposting that involves, some worms. And some of us are afraid of the worms, and some of us play with the worms. But we're going to speak about how important these little critters are in terms of actually making good garden soil, rich garden soil. So the first thing I want to speak about is when we use something that is organic. And some of us, we don't even, ask ourselves, what is organic? Organic is anything that is made from something that was living. So anything that breaks down from something that was living, if you realize, I say all the trees, all the vegetables that you eat, the manure that the animals, and you know what manure is? You say like, oh, we go to the bathroom and we say, mommy, sometimes they say, I want a wee-wee or I want a doo-doo. You understand? The manure is the doo-doo from the animal. And it has benefits. Yes, some of you might be saying yuck, but it has good benefits. So all of these things are what we consider to be organic, from living origin, coming from something that was living. Now, when we add compost to the soil, as the video was saying, it helps to make the soil better. It helps to make it stronger. And when it's stronger, it means that it can support what? The plants that are growing. And therefore, the plants will be what? Very healthy. And they'll be happy. You can know when plants are sad. When plants are sad, they're a bit droopy, right? Just like us, when we're upset, we're droopy. Our mouths are long, our face are wrinkled, right? And when we see a plant that isn't so healthy or happy, it tends to have that droopy, sick look, right? But when it is happy, it tends to be very green, very upright, standing upright, almost looking back at you and, you feel as if, boy, this plant is looking so good. That is what we call our happy plants. And so when we add compost and vermicompost, right, to our soil, it makes our plants stronger. It builds our soil so that our plants can be stronger, right? It also helps in terms of holding water. For some of us, sometimes mommy and daddy tell us, boy, let us go out in the garden and water the plants. And we say, mommy, I don't want to go out and water the plants. The sun is hot. Do you know when you add compost to your soil, it is able to hold 100 times the amount of water? So you know what that means for you? You can say, mommy and daddy, compost is in the soil and I watered it yesterday and it's still moist, it's still wet. You know why? The compost is holding more water. And therefore, you can say, mommy and daddy, when I build my compost heap, I know that I don't have to water my plants all the time because they're able to hold more water. So we said that the compost helps to what? Make the soil stronger and make the plants what? Happier. And also that it helps to what? Hold water, so that when mommy and daddy tell us to go and water, we can say, mommy, daddy, we don't need to water so often because we added some compost and the water can last in the soil for a longer time. Also, what I want to speak about is that there's an important thing that sometimes we put in compost, You remember I speak about that doo-doo, and for basic terms, that animal doo-doo. So we're talking about the cow, the goat, the chicken, because everything has to get rid of waste. When we eat something, it leaves our body. And a similar thing with the animals, it leaves their body. And this waste that leaves their body, we call it manure. Now, manure is a good thing. And sometimes you might hear, mommy or daddy or someone say that, they're going to get some manure to put in the garden. But I want to educate you today so that you can tell them how we should apply manure to the garden. Now, manure is not compost. And I'm going to tell you why manure is not compost. I want you to think of manure like raw chicken, meaning that, when mommy and daddy take out the meat out of the freezer, it is raw. And what do they have to do with this meat? They have to cook it. Isn't that so? And when they prepare it, they have to clean it up, take off the skin. They have to put season so that it tastes good. And they have to cook it in the pot for a good amount of time so it's soft and that it doesn't have anything harmful in it, because the heat will destroy all those bad things that we don't want in our tummies. And so the manure is like the raw chicken. It hasn't been cooked. And what you have to do is kind of cook it. And the cooking is almost like the composting process. The cooking is getting it to a stage or to a level that we can use it and feel safe about using it. Just like when mommy and daddy cook the meat, we can feel safe about eating the meat. Why? Because it has been prepared properly. And so manure, which oftentimes is something that some of us put in our compost pile, has to be prepared properly. Because you know what is going to happen? Remember, you know, we said that what? All the little critters. So we're talking all of these little crawly things that you see on the ground. The earthworm, the little small little bugs, the centipedes, and the microorganisms that you can't see with your eye. Because there are some things, you know, you can't see with your eye, and they're very important. They're called microbes. And sometimes mommy and daddy might tell you, go and wash your hand with some soap to get rid of the germs. You have good germs and you have bad germs. And so in our manure, we have a mixture of what? Good and bad germs. And we want to prepare it. We want to get it to a stage where we only have mostly good germs. So that when we give it or we add it to the plants, they won't be affected. They won't feel sad that they have bad germs around them. They'll feel happy that they have good germs. And we're going to speak about some of these good microorganisms. So we're not going to even call them germs. We're going to call them microbes. We're going to speak about the benefits of these microbes and the purpose that they serve, right? So you're going to hear me speak about composting, and we're going to call manure or seed material. You know, we're going to call it our seed material because it provides all of these little microbes that are very important in the composting process. Now, what we're seeing here on the ground is our initial mixture for composting. And what we're seeing here is a drum. You ever see mommy and daddy get a barrel from foreign and have all the nice things, the rice, the sugar, the flour, and it have the clothes and all the little nice things that you like? It comes sometimes in a drum like this. But this drum has some holes inside of it. And it has a little lever. And I'm going to show you a video about it later on. And so the lever is supposed to help us to what? To turn the drum. And then the holes is supposed to allow the little moisture, the excess water to come out of the drum. And here on the ground, we have a mixture of what? Corn. You know the corn trash? After you pick the corn, what the corn grow on that stalk, it is cut up. That's what you're seeing here. You're seeing some leaves and you're seeing some manure. You remember we spoke about manure a while ago? That's what we're seeing on the ground. Now they have something that they say money. You know, some of us will like money. When mommy and daddy give us lunch money, what we do with the money? We'll go and we'll buy. We'll go out to the school gate and we'll buy bag juice. And we'll buy chicken and chips. And we'll buy this toy. And we'll buy this sweetie. And we buy these sweetie and all of these different things. So you know what you do? You go all around the place and you spend mommy and daddy money. So we're saying that compost is like money. It is not worth anything unless you spread it around, unless you use it. So when you have your nice compost, you want to use it in your gardens. So what is compost, guys? Well, you know, sometimes when we go out in the backyard and you see the leaves fall from the tree, or you see like the person come to whack the yard or, you know, trim the lawn, and you see all the material that is left over after they have done that. You know, if you go out there the next week, you realize that the material is getting smaller and smaller. And you realize when you take it up, you know, you saw the green thing, it's now brown. And then it starts to break apart in your hands, it's breaking down, right? This is what we call decomposition, breakdown. And that occurs naturally. When rain falls, it breaks down. When the sun hits something, it breaks down. Mommy ever tell you, don't leave it in the sun, it's going to get mashed up, it's not going to be good again. Or don't put it in the rain because it's not going to work. Like you can't leave your tablet in the rain because it's not going to work. Because these things help to break down, you understand, or to break down these things. And so it's a similar thing when we have these little, you know, the grass clippings, you know, we have the branches from the tree, they break down. And the rain and the sun plays an important part in that breakdown process. And so that occurs naturally. And you see those microbes that we spoke about, those beneficial things, the worms and the little small microorganisms, they also play a very important role in that breakdown process. And so composting, on the other hand, yes, it's occurring naturally, but you're controlling it. And you know what I mean by control? You know, when you and your brother sitting there, or your little sister, and one of you controlling the remote, meaning that you determine what channel you want to watch. It's a similar thing. You are going to be monitoring. You are going to be watching the compost pile. You are going to be observing the compost pile and watching what is happening. And so compost takes your effort. You can't just leave it out and just forget about it. You have to play a very important role in terms of ensuring that you get something that is good and that will make the plants happy. But when we do composting, an important thing that we have to look out for is heat. You're supposed to touch the compost. As a matter of fact, sometimes if you touch it, it might burn you. But you're supposed to see some steam. Or if you rest your hand on top of it, it's supposed to feel warm. Like that warm cup of Lasco, that warm cup of milk, that warm cup of tea that you get in the morning. It's supposed to have that warm feeling. And when you have that warm feeling, it's telling you, yes, something is working. You know why you get that warm feeling? You ever realize when Miss have you guys in the classroom and a lot of you in the classroom and the fan not on and you start to get hot and you start to get miserable and you're saying, Miss, I am hot, I am hot. You know why you're getting hot? Because a lot of you are in the classroom. And guess what? Just like when you sweat, you see when you sweat and you're getting hot, you know what is coming off as well? Body heat. Your body is producing heat. And similar, these microorganisms, when they're eating, you can't see them with the eye, you know. When they're eating all of these little waste, the grass, the vegetable waste, all of these things that you throw away, when they're eating it, they are producing heat. And that is why when we touch the pile, we generally feel that heat. And we have to look out for that heat. But that heat is important because it's a reason why mommy cook your food, you know, and daddy cook the food, you know, because they don't want you to get sick. They don't want the bad germs to make your tummy upset. And similarly, when that compost is cooking and getting the heat, it is killing all the harmful things that will make the plants unhappy.